Welcome to another episode of Rainbow Popcorn. We are 2 out of 3 brothers reviewing queer movies and camp classics, brought to you by Pride of Our Footscray. Hello, Brett.
Hello, Lee.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Welcome to our first review of 2025.
Thank you. It's an honour to be here.
I feel privileged to once again share another iteration of studio with you.
God, okay, yeah.
This is it for 2025, I reckon. I don't think we'll move again this year.
No, well, let's see.
Same room.
Yeah, same
Slightly
room, different setup. Yeah.
But we're here, and so we are doing one queer movie. One movie that tells
A queer
a
story.
queer story.
One camp
One
movie.
camp classic.
Yeah.
On top of that, we are live once a month at Pride of Our Footscray.
Yep.
If you're listening to this live, you've just missed us do The Birdcage.
Yeah, it was a great night. I love that movie.
But if you want to join us in the future, we are next month doing In and Out.
Yep.
And tickets are on sale and linked in the episode description for all of our events where we're doing live commentary at Pride of Our Footscray. Our first queer story for the month is a little bit queer adjacent. The Dallas Buyers Club.
Oh, yeah. I guess we'll talk about that.
We will,
In
but let's have a drink as we go.
This is some Texian twist on a Long Island iced tea.
So it's called a Texas tea,
Sure.
but it's also got a bit of our twist on it
Yep.
because we were just like, these seem like drinks they drink
These
in
are
Texas.
thing that we have. So it's got vodka, tequila, Southern Comfort,
Jack Daniels,
Jack Daniels,
gin.
gin, and topped up with Coke. So it's kind of like
So it's
Long
a
Island.
not drive home cocktail. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it does taste like a kind of a Long Island iced tea, but
Yeah.
different. It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's a sipping cocktail.
I'm sorry that it took me a little bit of time to set up the studio, which means that the ice is a little bit melted.
Yeah.
But we're here.
Oh.
Only one tagline for Dallas Buyers Club.
Yay. Thank you, white straight saviors.
Yeah. Straight saviors.
Yeah.
No, it's called, it says, Dare to Live.
Yeah, okay.
Which I was thinking about the little story recap that I'm going to start each of these episodes with. And as I was watching the movie, I was thinking, is this a story about a guy who gets AIDS? Or
Yep.
is this a story about the AIDS epidemic? Or is this a story, hey, AIDS affected the straights as well?
Yeah.
Or is it a story of how fucked the FDA system is? Or is it a story about Big Pharma? Or is it a story about a
God, that's a lot
homophobic
of
cowboy
options.
who becomes a slightly less homophobic cowboy?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
I still don't really know. I think it's
Or-
like all of the above.
G, all of the above.
All of the above.
It's a very good movie.
It's a good movie. It is a different. I think the main point of it is the Big Pharma FDA
Yes.
fuckery.
So I think there have been a number of stories set in the 80s, AIDS epidemic, AIDS affecting people at that time when it first, I was going to say became big, but that makes it seem like a TikTok trend.
Yeah.
But when it first, was starting to affect huge amounts of people. And this is a different take on it. Matthew McConaughey plays according to IMDb, electrician and hustler who contracts HIV and then takes it upon himself to get his own drugs because AZT is not good for him. And along the way, he meets Rayon, who also has HIV and then AIDS, and they established the Dallas Buyers Club, which was a real thing.
Yep.
The Dallas Buyers Club and Buyers Club were real things around the States about you join up and get your drugs that aren't necessarily approved by the FDA in the States, but were better at treating symptoms of HIV and AIDS. And then there's the battle of him against the FDA, and then there's the battle of him against the doctors as
Yep.
well. And then, so that's the kind of story that ends up kind of with a court case of him taking the FDA to court, which
Yes.
by the sounds of the end of the movie was kind of a catalyst that then opened up a range of other treatment options.
Yeah, I didn't like the end.
It was one
And
of
there
those.
were some bits in the beginning and the middle that I didn't really like.
We'll get to a couple of the things that I didn't like when we talk about presentation, but that's generally the story. A white straight man is brave enough to take on the FDA when none of the gays could or
Yeah.
would.
Yeah.
That's the subtext that
Yeah.
I'm drawing.
It was just because of him.
Yep.
It wasn't a huge movie box office wise. It only had a budget of $5 million.
Which is small.
Yeah.
I guess Jared Leto's not huge.
I don't think they got paid a lot to do this. It's very much more of an independent arty movie.
Yep.
And the box office was only 55 million. Which isn't huge
which is
at
not
all,
big.
but compared to what the budget was, it's not too bad.
But also, if it was, I guess, probably limited release,
Yeah.
and so not a huge amount of theaters. I remember when we went to see it, I could only see it at like the Nova on Valentine's Day.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And it was like when he first faints in his trailer, this woman who'd had a couple of wines on Lygon Street by that stage,
Yep.
he fainted and she goes, "Oh!" And then she turned to her, I assume, husband. She goes, "Oh, this is not a Valentine's Day movie."
Oh,
But
God.
they stayed for the 2 hours and 15 minutes after that point.
Yeah. Awards-wise, it did very well.
It is a very well acted movie.
Matthew McConaughey won Best Actor Oscar.
Yeah.
Jared Leto won Best Supporting Actor Oscar. It also won an Oscar for Best Makeup and Hairstyling.
Yeah.
And was also nominated for Best Screenplay, Best Editing, and Best Picture.
Pretty big for a $5 million movie.
Yeah. Then, interestingly, it won Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor at the Golden Globes as well,
Yeah.
but was not nominated for a single BAFTA.
Huh. Did they have another big movie that year, the British? Was it a big year,
Probably.
2013?
2013. What else was
The
there?
United
Gravity,
Kingdom.
12 Years a Slave.
No, Matthew McConaughey is very good, and
Yeah.
Jared Leto, and we'll talk about it, both of them, I guess, but more so Jared Leto when we get to representation. But Jared Leto is very good. It's
Yeah.
a shame that he's a bit weird as a person and as a chooser of roles,
Yep.
because he's a very talented actor.
Yep. Well, I've seen him in this. That's it. I don't know if I've seen him in another movie.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I looked up his IMDb as we
Oh,
went.
I guess he's apparently in Fight Club, but couldn't tell you doing what.
He's just one of the guys.
Yeah.
Morbius, average movies.
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad as Joker, and then was pissed off that he didn't get his own Joker movie. And other smaller things, but nothing really big despite his obvious talent.
Yeah.
Shall we get
Yeah,
into some
so-
ratings?
Yeah, let's do it.
Presentation.
I
On the Pride scale, we're still rating all of our movies this year on the Pride scale with presentation, representation, iconicness, dialogue, and entirety.
Yep.
Totally scientific and not at all made up, any of
Yes.
those words.
Yep. And we brought over the awards from Two Drink Cinema, so
We
we'll still
have.
give those out as
So
well.
still best and worst extras.
I-
Presentation.
The first thing I wrote at the start was like, to me, I didn't look at this and go, oh, it's in the 80s.
Well,
But then later on, I was like, okay, that looks like the 80s. When they're at a motel or hotel, whatever, that's turquoise.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell at the very start if it's the 80s or that's just how rednecks dress.
Well, yeah, they still just wear like a shirt and jeans and a cowboy
And
hat.
a cowboy hat, which
So-
is fine. I kind of like the cowboy hat look. It's just the hat hair would annoy me. Not obviously now, but the constant hat hair would get to me if I had hair
Yeah, okay.
and was the
I get
cowboy
ya.
thing.
Yep.
But yeah, it is kind of that cowboy look. But then you see Jennifer Garner's combination of the white sweater and the little tie-up shirt, and you're like, oh, it is 1986
Yep.
or 1985 or 2 months later.
It's 1985 because don't you remember they had to make that point by then him standing there and looking at a calendar?
That said 1985.
Yeah.
And then in the smallest font ever used in cinema history tells us it's 6 months later.
Well, I suppose that's dialogue.
But
So
presentation,
the presentation of the font is not good.
like it's
Yeah.
tiny.
Yep.
That I don't know why. It like, is it meant to be like the size of a prescription pad or the fine
don't
print
know.
on your little drug bottle?
I don't know.
But it's small, and that annoyed me.
It did annoy me too, actually. Especially because then it was like, it's like 2 weeks later, whatever, 2 years later, 40,000 days later. But then when he was in like Japan or whatever, and it came up with the font saying where he is, it was the same size.
Yeah.
Down the bottom. And I'm like, what? And you've got a big TV.
Speaking of his travel, points off for presentation for the green screening.
Yep.
Because they just kind of obviously shot Matthew McConaughey walking in front of a green screen and then was like, can we just find some stock footage of an airport in Israel, please? And then just put that on in the background. It was very obvious green screen.
Yep.
No shots of him in Tokyo, just stock footage of Shibuya Crossing, the big famous pedestrian crossing. And then stock footage of this airport, stock footage of this street, stock footage of that, all on a bad green screen. So I guess it wasn't a high budget movie,
No.
and they're not obviously going to fly him anywhere, but it still didn't look good.
No, it
And we are marking it on presentation.
Yeah. The other thing, the thing that did look good, and they won an Oscar for it, is the makeup.
They do both, Matthew McConaughey particularly from the very start, look sick.
Yep.
And a lot of that is the amount of, like how skinny he is, the amount of weight that both, obviously, Leto and McConaughey lost. But the makeup as they progress to make them look sicker and sicker, and then the makeup that Rayon is wearing to cover up the sickness
Yep.
is very good. I'm not sure about the bar with the leopard print pool table.
Great pool table.
Minor.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's a good or a bad presentation thing. From the bar's point of view, probably fits their clientele.
Right, okay, yeah, because it's like Texas hunting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just like my pool tables to be green.
That's very traditional of you, Lee.
Yeah. Except the occasional red one. You know, sometimes you get
Okay.
a red
Yeah,
felt
yeah.
pool table.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like it would muck up working out the angles if it had that leopard
Okay.
print on it.
It probably would. I did think that.
Or I'd kind of get a bit magic eye after a while.
Yeah.
and lose the balls. But
Okay.
that's not really a directorial choice, probably.
Yeah.
So I won't mark according to that.
Okay, good. The directing is pretty good. There's a little bit of cliches, you know what I mean? Cliches, oh, he's walking through, let's follow him. I don't know who invented this shot. And someone's walking and the camera's following. And then it's like, cut, and now he's in a different bit. Cut, now he's in a different bit, but he's still just walking. I'm kind of sick of seeing it. Do you know what I mean?
Like just a camera following the main character of a very personal story drama.
Yeah, it's just like, do something different. It just seems, we're making a serious arty movie. This is how we have to film it.
That being said, there's a lot of... I kind of liked the closeness of the camera to McConaughey if it is his story.
Yeah.
Like if the story, as it could have been, was him dealing with having the AIDS and having to become less homophobic,
Yeah.
then that closeness and that following works, I
Yeah.
think,
Okay.
as a directorial choice.
Yeah. I mean, it's good directing. I'm just sick of seeing the same directing all the time.
There's only so many things you can do with a camera. Sometimes you can tilt it on a bit of an angle. Sometimes you can shoot over the top.
Yeah. Did they do that? No.
One thing, I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark last night.
Uh-huh.
And one really good shot is when Steven Spielberg is filming from in the roof of Marion Ravenwood's bar, and she's standing over here, and the Nazis at the fireplace over here, and like the beam is separating them.
Yeah.
I like that shot. That's a bit different.
Good. See,
Not-
and he's a good director.
Not to do with this one.
I don't have much else to say about presentation. I think it just looks okay.
It looks like a drama made in 2013.
It looks like a
and
drama
it's
that
shot
it's-
like a drama made in 2013.
Ooh, this is a sad story. Don't make it too bright and colourful. Let's dress Jennifer Garner in hideous clothing.
Yeah, she's a doctor in the 80s. Is that how they dressed?
I don't know. Maybe she did. She's not meant to be glamorous, but you know what I mean.
She's good, though, Jennifer Garner.
I do like her.
I want to see her do what's something like really dramatic that she's done.
That is the most dramatic thing I can
Yeah.
think of.
Because generally things she does are lighter. Like she's done
Elektra.
Alias. And that was
Alias, Daredevil,
yeah,
Love Simon.
nothing like really dramatic. I'm going to cry
Not
and
that
win
I
an
can
Oscar.
think of.
I'd like to see her do something like that.
Okay.
What are you going to score it for presentation out of 5?
I think I will score it a 3.5.
Okay.
Is that a bit low?
I'm going to give it a 4 for presentation because other than those green screens, there's not much for me to take off points because it looks like how a movie's meant to look in 2013.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I'm okay with that. So I'm going to give it a 4.
All right. Well, let me add that to the notes, shall I?
Yeah. So what did you, 3.5
3.5
and a 4.
and a 4. All right.
I wonder if I'm being a little bit harsh because I say it looks good.
But to me, like a 5 out of 5 presentation movie is like Life of Pi. You know what I mean?
But this is how this movie's meant to look.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that.
Like if this
it's
movie
good.
looks like Life of Pi, that doesn't work for this film.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
but there are also some things that are just a bit meh.
Just basic.
Yeah.
Yeah, they only had $5 million. They probably only had one camera.
Maybe.
Okay, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. The extras, I didn't write any notes
I didn't either.
because I didn't notice anyone that was particularly good as an extra. Actually, I've got a worst extra nomination note that just came to me,
Okay.
and it's towards the end of the movie. So, best extra, DNA.
I didn't notice any good extras, but there was a lot of just people standing there. So for me, the main extras were people in bars
Yep.
or people standing in line waiting to get drugs.
Or people in the support group.
So I didn't really see any good ones. The person that I thought was very random, but then she got more involved, was that Bernice woman that just popped up out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah, he was
And
like, are
didn't
you
say
high?
anything.
Bernice, you're in charge.
Yeah, and then didn't say anything. And so I was like, is that it, Bernice? Do people of colour not talk in this movie?
Not many.
But then she got a bit more into it.
Well, yeah, she ends up pretty much running the show. Maybe a good extra is that
You know that young one that was there and didn't have enough money, and then 2 years later he comes back with money?
that's who I was about to nominate for worst extra.
Right.
Because he's like standing there. I was going to say all Sado, but that sounds like I'm taking the piss out of the fact that he's got AIDS and wants drugs. He's standing there with his $50 and he gets turned away when Ron is in his hustler mode of the Buyers Club.
Yeah. He's
And
cashing
then
in on the pink dollar.
comes back 2.5 years later and just shows some notes to Ron, who remembers him.
Yeah.
But I think that's a bit harsh.
I thought it was a decent extra. There weren't many. I think maybe there was one actually. No, I don't have anything for best extra.
I'm thinking the guy at his first support group meeting that he goes to, and he goes up and puts his hands on him, and Matthew McConaughey tells him to fuck off, and then he's just like, okay, goes and sits down. But that's only if you said I had to give the award to someone.
Nobody stands out to me.
So we're not awarding either extras, best or worst.
Well, worst, then, no, I don't think so. The other one was like Rayon's, I assume, partner
Yep.
that was just there.
And then just took them to the hospital.
Yeah.
Nah. Did not award.
Okay. So what about representation?
Good start to 2025 for the extras from Rainbow Popcorn. R in the Pride Scale stands for representation.
Yes.
The representation of homophobic rednecks is strong at the start.
Yep.
Like in terms of the dialogue, it really just sets this is what these guys are like
Yep.
when they talk about Rock Hudson, but also the redneckness of them saying all that fine Hollywood pussy going to waste.
Yeah.
Like that dialogue, and that's in dialogue, but also I think that's a good way to represent them. But in terms of diverse representation, which is what we really talk about for this.
Yeah. There's one person of colour that talks.
And that's the woman in charge, essentially, Bernice.
Oh, and I suppose that other guy that you were going to talk about extra when he gets to the first meeting.
Yeah, he gets a line.
There's
There's only a couple that speak, but there's always people of colour in scenes.
Yes.
So in the bar, there's always a people of colour.
Yeah.
In the line waiting, there's always people of colour. There's people of colour at the support group meetings, at the gay bars. Mainly black people. I didn't notice much more ethnic diversity.
Yeah. Except for the Latino guy at the start who got crushed at work.
Oh, the illegal.
I'm not going to use that word that he called him.
Dumbass.
Something. Insert racial word here. I think for this movie, the biggest topic of representation is around Rayon and Jared Leto's portrayal of Rayon, as well as the movie's insertion of that character into the based on a true story.
Yeah, so it's not a real character. Is it one of those amalgamation characters?
No, I think it's like, we better put something in there. He needs a sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rayon's close to Robin, I guess, is a name. Like Batman and Robin.
Yeah, I know, I got that. So, obviously there's the conversation of should straight actors be playing these roles?
Yeah.
This was, nearly over 10 years ago. Times have changed. I think he's even come out and said he might not do it again if he had the choice. But
well, actually, he probably doesn't have a heap of choice, Jared Leto, at the moment. But good for him to say he probably wouldn't do it.
I might just be making that up from the back of my memory somewhere. I think it's an interesting portrayal. I don't find it like offensive.
I don't think it's an offensive portrayal. I think if it was a real character, that would be a good portrayal of that type of character.
Yeah.
I wonder what the conversations around the development of that character were. Because I assume in real life, he had an offsider.
Yeah.
Why would they not go with that offsider? Why did they decide to put a trans person as the straight white man's partner?
I think it's because then they needed to have someone that he works closely with to change his perception of people.
From a 0 to a 3.
Yeah.
Because he still, towards
I'm not
the end...
at the start, I'm not a F word. I
Effing
don't
F.
even know any of them.
Yeah.
To
Sticking up for her in the
yeah.
supermarket.
Yeah.
But then he still does say, I don't care. Maybe we need to go to San Francisco where there's a sissy judge that can help us.
Yeah.
So he's not full unhomophobic. But that,
No.
you're right, that growth of his character, they need a Rayon
quick
type
growth.
character to, well, it could be a year, could be 2 years, who knows. They need a Rayon type character opposite him for that to happen. But then also, I feel like Ron in real life really was just hustling the shit out of this.
Yeah, he didn't do it because he cared about people. He did it because he saw
Yeah.
a way to help
And I'd
himself
be
and
interested
make money.
in his real story if he did become less homophobic,
Yeah.
or whether that's an artistic choice.
I think it's an artistic choice because, look, we have to like him. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
he's the hero, and we have to be like, oh, yeah, he did the right thing. Look at how far he's come. Oh, he died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
Whereas if he's just an arsehole the whole time and uses it to make himself money, then that's not a good movie.
I think it is a good movie, but it's not a generally acceptable movie.
Yeah.
Because we know I don't need a happy ending
No.
for a movie to be that, and I don't need a hero. You could make a movie about a guy being an asshole with the how shit is the FDA elements in it.
Well, maybe the other way of doing it is he's an asshole, and he's just doing it because it helps him get better and it makes him money. And then at the end, people are like, "Oh, thank you for doing this for us. You're amazing." And he's like, "Oh, fuck, that wasn't my intention."
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I guess that's what I don't know about the true story.
Yeah.
Whether he did turn and sell his car and suddenly be able to hug Rayon, cry when they die.
Yeah.
And he says, Jennifer Garner, oh, I just want my life to mean something. And she's like, oh, it does. Whether that was a true element or not. And if it was, I guess that Rayon character is there for that story to play out.
Yeah. I think as well, although, like, there's also the gender pronouns for Rayon. I think obviously
I've
for that
nominated this for
time-
worst line.
Okay, right. But for that time, it's like, it wasn't so, he's still medically a he, is why the doctor would be calling Rayon a he.
The doctor is a friend, though.
Yeah, that's true, but
Because it could have been as a story, to add to that gradual acceptance thing. At some point, Ron starts calling Rayon she.
yeah, but he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I don't think he would do that. But I find it more... I feel like more Jennifer Garner would say she.
Yes.
But they are also... there's a thing of she wants to transition. Like, I'm not sure... And we don't get that, and this is why it's probably not the best representation. We don't get anything that says Rayon identifies as a woman now,
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
than the way they dress. But yeah,
The other thing about representation is, like, look, AIDS is not a gay disease. But then he's doing his research and they show 71% of cases are gay and bisexual men. and there is like one queer character that talks. Like Rayon's it.
Yeah, there's that couple that donate the house, but they get about 6 lines between them. There is most of the support groups. That first one certainly seemed to be
Yeah.
gay. They do go to the gay bar because, and Rayon says, this is where most of our customers are going to be.
Yeah.
But they're not,
They're not part of the story.
seem to be involved in the club closely
No.
or involved in the story. But it is the story of this straight saviour.
Yep.
And I guess if that is the true story, then that's the story.
Yeah.
So if the story is based on his, and his story didn't have queer people in his close circle, and we're saying, do we need to add Rayon? We don't need to add a whole lot of queers in. Like, we don't need all those gay men in the close part
Yeah.
if they weren't actually there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're telling a gay AIDS story, which probably not, so which is why it's a queer adjacent
Yes.
story.
Yeah. But I just think it's yeah. I don't know.
I think
It's a tough one.
It's an HIV/AIDS story that is not a queer story,
Yes.
and so the representations of queer people are there, minor, not great.
Yep.
So how are we going to score it?
Well, I'm thinking somewhere along the lines of like a 1.5 or a 2.
Yeah,
But then, because what I'm thinking with is then if it's like it's not a queer movie, but it's bad, the queer character is a good character, but is it good representation?
I think it's good representation of how that character would be in the mid-'80s and how that character would be treated by the people around them.
Yep.
It's not treated well, but I think Ron using probably the wrong pronouns and joking about shooting his dick
pronouns
off.
weren't invented then.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they're not a thing anymore anyway in the States. And that's a joke, everybody listening. And like joking about shooting his dick off.
Yeah.
I think
I didn't
that's
like
an
that.
accurate representation.
Yeah. I'm giving it a 2.
I'm giving it a 2 as well.
Yeah.
I know I just sounded like I was trying to say it's better than it is. But in terms of having queer representation in this movie, I think it's accurate. Yes, there probably could have been more. I don't feel like it was the greatest choice for that representation of his change from homophobic to slightly less homophobic to be represented in that way.
Yeah.
Leto's character. And we could have had some more ethnic diversity. What's the gayest moment in the movie? This is an added award that we're not going to start on strong because we needed a representation award, and so this is the.
It's not good gay moments.
I don't know how to quit you gayest moment. I wish I knew
Yeah.
how to quit you gayest moment in the movie. Is it? It's just having a gay couple.
It's just, I don't know. Him sticking, that's not a gay moment. Him sticking up for him in the.
It's a good representation moment.
Yeah. There isn't really gay moments.
All right, we're winning the awards today.
When there's lesbians, well, no, they're not lesbians. Him and his friend bring the 2 women over. They seem more interested in themselves,
Yeah,
each
Well,
other than the men.
they're so coked out of their mind.
Yeah.
that Why would you be interested in them? They're just there for the money and the coke.
Yeah.
So is that the gayest moment?
God,
that
no,
the
can't be.
prostitutes that they hire are too busy making out with each other that Matthew McConaughey just passes out on the couch.
I don't know. Is it? It has to do something with Rayon. Something in a gay club.
where they're all dancing together and look at him standing at the bar?
That. Why not?
Because that's probably also the most diverse little group of people that get adequate acknowledgement on screen.
And then that's when he looks and goes, they're just people, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
done.
don't hate them all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we stretched a bit for that one. Iconicness. How iconic is this movie? I think, queer aside, and I know this is the Rainbow Popcorn podcast, but queer aside, I think this is an iconic movie in Matthew McConaughey's career.
Yes, obviously.
It's a turning point from Blue Surf, whatever that one he did with, where he dives for gold with Kate Hudson.
Fool's Gold.
Thank you. To actually, I'm a serious actor.
And then he never did another serious movie again.
Well, Wolf of Wall Street's serious. I know he talks about jerking off, but it's a more serious character. It's not a look at my abs rom-com character. He has done some other kind of serious-ish stuff from then, but I think it's iconic in his career.
Yep.
It's also iconic in Jared Leto's career.
Well, I think it's award-winning. People know it.
People know it. People know it's good.
Yeah.
It's not queer iconic.
It's not going to age well. I don't think.
I think it will, other than the fact that Jared Leto's playing a trans woman.
Yeah.
Because the things where you look and you go, ooh, like the number of times they say the F word, and the way they talk about the Hispanic person, they haven't aged well from 1985, not from 2013.
Yeah.
So I think the movie will age okay.
I don't think it will.
It's been 12 years.
Yeah. I don't think it will.
I'm going to give
another
it
5 years. They'll be like, ooh, they shouldn't have made this way.
They say that about everything.
Yeah.
These bloody woke agenda.
The woke left.
Yeah, say that about everything. That's also a joke.
Yeah.
How iconic do I think it is? I think it's a 3.75.
Okay, I think it's a 3.
Because when you think like, oh, Matthew McConaughey's a good actor. Oh, yeah, he did Dallas Buyers Club. Or when you say Dallas Buyers Club, you're like, oh, yeah, Matthew McConaughey was good in that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's recognisable and well known.
But what's the most iconic scene?
When
It's him
Rayon
crying in
dies,
the car.
It's him crying in the car.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's been memed.
It's that bit.
Yeah, that fading into the next scene.
Yeah.
Him crying in the car has been memed a little bit, but it is the iconic scene. That's probably the one part of what they would have showed at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Crying certainly helps with the Oscars. So that's the most iconic scene.
He uglied up and he cried.
Yeah.
Had in the bag.
And just a little bit of queer,
Yeah.
just for that third strike to get the Oscar.
Yeah.
Dialogue.
Okay. Some of it was good, some was bad.
Yeah, that's
And considering that
generally
my
movies.
first quote was when the guy asked about, Matthew McConaughey asked about that guy's dad, and he goes, "There's good days and bad." I'm like, God, that's cliche. But then I just said the same thing.
But that's also what people say.
Yeah, I know.
At least he didn't say living the dream.
I think what would have made it easier to comment on the dialogue of this movie is if I could understand more of what Matthew McConaughey was saying.
He's really got that Texas drawl
He
going
mumbles.
on, doesn't he?
Mumbles.
You did ask at one point for the subtitles on.
Yeah, because he was like...
The first, I reckon, half an hour of the movie is pretty dense. Like, we often talk while we watch a movie together, but neither of us really said anything for the first half an hour.
No.
And I think that's because there's a lot of dialogue and stuff happening. Like, well, the opening sex scene of him just fucking a chick at the back of the bull riding place.
Yeah.
That's not the point where you're going to have a chat with your brother. And then there's just talking, setting up that he's a hustler, setting up that he's a mate with this cop, setting up
Yeah.
that he's sick, then he gets his diagnosis, then he gets his drugs, and then we talk about there's just talk, which is good and done very well. But it's very dense, I think, for the whole movie, but particularly that first 30, probably 40 minutes.
Yeah. And because it is setting up that he's already, like, his life's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he's a piece of shit.
It's setting up that he can hustle, though. Like, he does hustle, not so much successfully. That he's just about money and pussy, really.
Yep.
Which are key things that then, I guess, change with his character across the movie. There are some good lines, and little subtle lines, like when Jennifer Garner says to Jared Leto, or Jared Leto says, "Is that guy from Home Ec?" To kind of just establish that they're friends from high school,
Yeah.
which is a better way than just saying,
Come on, I've known you since high school.
yeah,
Yeah.
or Matthew McConaughey saying something to Rayon and then Jennifer Garner saying, "Hey, that's my friend,"
Yeah.
which she does say
She
later.
does later. There's
There
a lot of swearing.
and a lot of not the 4-letter F word,
The 6-letter F word.
which again is accurate representation for the time, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how he would talk.
Yep.
It is still jarring, obviously, for our community to hear that word in any context. I do like that Rayon says, you don't deserve our money, you homophobic asshole.
Yeah.
She has a little moment of sticking up, but then she does end up in business with him.
Yep.
I feel like the story works. I know I did say at the start that it could be all of these things. One thing I would have liked more from the story is before he becomes partners with Rayon, he's trying to get this thing going, and he has to learn to accept the gays because that's where his money will come from.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to learn to accept the gays because they are, as you said, 71% of the patients, according
Yep.
to those stats. And so if you're going to keep being an arsehole to me, Rayon says to Ron, this is not going to work and you're just going to fucking die.
Yep.
I think I would have liked a little bit more of that part of the story before...
They got in business with each
before
other.
they have a little moment. Again, I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark last night. I'm your goddamn partner.
Right.
That thing. Yeah.
Very, very much
Yeah.
that.
Karen Allen from The Sandlot.
I lost count of how many times Matthew McConaughey said he's dying. We get it.
Yes.
You've got AIDS and the movie is about you dying.
And that is the point of the movie, which we would have known from the trailer. And known from the trailer, and also the fact that the doctor says you have 30 days to live.
Yeah. And then we look at the calendar and all the other numbers disappear except for the number 30.
Pick a month that has 30 days.
It did.
No, July has 31 days.
Okay. I get what you mean. It does have 30, but it has another one.
Yeah. So do June.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, it's just one of my things.
But it wasn't June.
There also wasn't Rayon.
Yeah, I know.
So if you're going to make an artistic choice, you can make an artistic choice to pick a 30-day month.
The other thing that...
Assuming
took
that
me-
he got diagnosed on the 1st of June.
Yeah, that's true. The other thing that took me out of the story a bit was all the jumps, the time jumps. I get it, because I didn't mind it at the start being like, blah, 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 day 7, day 9, day 20. But then when it was like 2 months later.
And when day 29,
6 months later.
2 months later.
And then I'm like, okay, I've lost track of where we were at here.
Yeah. But it does jump, but some things didn't progress. Like he goes to dinner once with Jennifer Garner, and then it says a year later, and they're on the same level of him just trying to flirt with her and chat to her
Yeah.
when he takes her that sombrero. So, like, nothing happened in that year. They didn't go on another date. They didn't get closer. They didn't become friends. So those things didn't progress. We just be like, oh, we got to get to the next major event,
Yeah.
which I found, yeah, a bit jumpy.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't like in the story and in the dialogue was just like he's flick reading newspapers, flick reading newspapers, and we don't read any articles. We just see headlines with the word AIDS in it,
Yep.
and then he's just like, "Hey, I'm starting a membership." Like, oh, are you?
But you didn't see him read an article about other places that have done it.
No.
Yeah.
Or he did, but we didn't see it long enough for us to know that that's what he was reading about. And then he just says like one line, "Yeah, they do it in New York. I got the idea from that."
Yeah.
And then it just happens.
Yep.
Like, is there a reason that a membership is the way to do it? Is that means you're not selling? I assumed if you're a member of this group and you get given drugs, it's to him get around the loophole of selling drugs when he's not a doctor. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I assumed that,
Yeah.
but we didn't get any dialogue in a very dialogue-heavy, long movie to explain why he started the Dallas Buyers Club.
Well, then that kind of goes back again to what you were saying with the having more time with him going working out a club, but then if he wants to make money of it, the majority of people joining the club are going to be gays.
So he has to get over
So
his homophobia.
He has to get close to them and to learn more about it. So that's all the
He
same
has to
bit.
get closer to Rayon.
Yeah.
Like, that can all go in together rather than just be like, oh, by the way, an hour into the movie.
Yeah.
I started the Dallas Buyers Club,
Because then it could be like,
which is the title of the movie.
yeah, it could be like he's doing research, and then he's going to Rayon, going, well, what do you know about these clubs? And then she's like, well, I don't want to talk to you, you homophobic asshole. Why would we help you out?
Yeah.
Then he goes, oh, come on, let's go talk to people.
But then Rayon says, I've got a friend who can't get the drugs
Yep.
because of this loophole, because of
Yes.
this issue. And he's like, oh, well, maybe that's why the clubs work. Let me do some more research.
Yeah.
Microfish.
Yeah.
Here's a motel.
Yep.
But we didn't get that.
No.
We didn't get a scene of how the main character in this movie started the thing that
The
the
title.
title
Yeah.
of the movie is.
Yep.
Fix that in the reboot.
Yeah.
He gets very unhomophobic very quickly. We've kind of
Yeah, he
said
does.
that. He just goes from like effing F to, hey, let's get into partnership, Rayon. Hey, I'm going to go to a gay bar with you and find a whole lot of customers.
Yeah.
Which was, again, another moment that probably happened too quickly. But then, in the contrast to that, like the subtle line about, is that guy the guy from Home Ec? There's subtle line like, have my new caddy ready when I get back from Japan.
Right.
Which
yeah.
is just a signal of, he's made enough money to buy a Cadillac. He's not doing this for them.
Right.
And then obviously the Cadillac comes back at the end when he changes his tune and says, sell the car. So as much as some things happen really quickly, there is a good amount of subtle dialogue storytelling
Yeah.
in there.
Yep.
So I'm going to give it
Oh, yeah, we have to do that.
a 3.75.
Okay.
That's, I reckon if you go back through all the episodes, that might like, Lee doesn't think it's crap, but he doesn't think it's 5 out of 5. So he's going to give it a 3.75.
Yeah, get into a 3.5. Yep.
Because
Because there's good bits, but also
there's good lines.
there's, as we will discuss in a moment, there are bad ones.
The performance of the lines are all very good too. I don't think there's bad acting. Maybe Rayon's partner.
Yeah.
It's hard to know if they're bad actor or just high
Yeah, that's true.
or dying.
My first nomination for worst line is when he's doing the doctor and he's going to what's her name and needs drugs.
Yep.
And something FDA can't do it. And then he says, screw the FDA, I'm going to DOA.
I don't mind that one. I feel like that's in character for him.
I think it's dumb.
It
I
is
think it's
dumb,
badly written.
but I feel like it's in character for him.
Like I'm gonna dead on arrival. That no, you're not, because you've already arrived here, so you would have been dead.
That's true. I am going to nominate. Well, you've also said about we've already kind of said about pronouns, because I was going to nominate the fact that Rayon's, I guess by today's standard, misgendered through this whole movie.
Yeah.
Would in 1985, Rayon have said, "Call me, use she"?
Nope. I don't think so.
Okay, so I'm taking that out.
She might have,
Yeah.
but maybe not.
Well, it's clear that Jennifer Garner and Matthew McConaughey both know that Rayon is not identifying as a man.
Yeah. That could have gone deeper with that too, but anyway.
Yeah, but they're not a real character, so they don't need to.
Yeah, the other Doctor, played by Dennis O'Hare, who never plays a nice person in anything.
Career asshole.
Jennifer Garner's talking to him about, like, take him off AZT, it's not working, blah, blah, blah. And then he says something like, they're dying, there's no long-term effects.
Oh, yeah, she says, we don't know this, not enough research, we don't know the long-term effects.
Yeah.
And he says they're dying, there are no long-term effects.
Which
like,
is he not a doctor?
well, he is a doctor, but, like, if it's 30 days or a year,
Yeah.
take the drugs. I think is the point that he's saying. If we don't give them the AZT, they're all going to die. So we give them a life now, and then as we go,
Yeah.
we find the long-term effects.
It's just the way it was worded made him seem like just, I don't care, just give them drugs.
He is a bit characterized that way.
Yeah.
He's in a little bit of the pocket of the guy with the gold Rolex.
Yeah.
That's another subtle storytelling.
That
thing
was a good line as well, she has said.
Well, the fact that she noticed it, and it was shot well that she noticed it, but then she did say the line after. One thing that got me was when Ron says to Rayon, "Get my lawyer on the phone," and then Rayon says, "Here, it's your lawyer." I feel like, oh, actually, I'm going to change my tune on this one.
No, I feel like Matthew McConaughey could have said, Rayon, get Dave on the phone.
But we don't know the lawyer's name.
That's true, because they never talk about him.
Like I said, we have a business together. I wouldn't say to you, get our accountant on the phone.
Right.
I'd say get accountant's name on the phone. But then anyone overhearing that needs to know that I'm talking about an accountant wouldn't know.
Okay. So is it bad writing that we don't know the lawyer's name?
No,
Okay.
because he's a minor character.
Yeah.
I'm changing my mind on that.
Okay. My last nomination for worst line is, so setting the scene. Rayon has quite advanced AIDS,
Yes.
and he's sitting
I
in
didn't mean
bed.
that. I'm not laughing at that.
Is sitting in bed while her partner, for some reason, is using plastic as a scarf.
They spend all
and-
their money on peptides.
Yeah. Rayon is coughing
Yep.
and then ends up coughing up some blood
Yes.
and starts crying. He's
Because of the AIDS.
Yeah. I don't want to die. And partner goes, you're not going to die. And I understand that maybe that's like, oh, I'm just going to ease you. Like, no, don't say that. She's going to die.
She's going to die.
Yeah.
Not only is she going to die because of the AIDS,
Yeah.
she's going to die because of the movie.
And she's also going to die because she keeps taking drugs.
Yeah, but like, it's a bit meta. But
Yes.
she's going to die
We
because of
know you're gonna die.
the way movies work.
Yeah.
She's
I've seen
gonna
enough
die.
of these movies to know that that one's going to die.
Yeah. I'm going to go with you're not going to die.
You're not gonna die. Okay, cool.
Because there are other consolation lines you could say. Like you said, oh, don't say that. Or we'll get you some help.
No, we'll take you to the Eve.
Yeah.
Is that her name? Yep.
Eve something. Dr. Eve.
Yep.
Entirety. Looking at the screen here, no notes.
I think it's a well-made movie.
Yes,
The acting is good.
correct.
It drags. and it felt like a lot longer than it was.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because wasn't in the mood to watch it. I don't know. But it felt like, I was like, really?
We were trying to get this recorded in time to watch the Australian Open men's final.
Yep.
And I kept thinking as the movie's going like, oh my God, Sinner will have already won a set by the time we're finished. But then I checked the time and it was a 2-hour movie.
Yep.
So
It felt a lot longer
I
than that.
think for that reason it does drag. It's good. It's very well acted. I like the idea of telling a different story of the AIDS epidemic.
Yep.
I think we need the weight of AIDS epidemic movies to be in the favour of the gay community.
Yep.
We need more Philadelphias than we need Dallas Buyers Clubs.
Correct.
But this is a very well-made movie and does show another side, the big pharma, the FDA side, as well, which is good. Performances are great. I'm going to give it... Well, now that I've had that little tirade before about
3.75.
I'm going to give it a 3.75 because it's better than mid,
Yeah.
but it's not great.
Okay.
So I'm taking a bit off for some dodgy representation and for the dragging.
Okay.
But overall, it's a very good movie and well performed.
Yeah. Well, I'm giving it a 3.5. So, total
Okay.
32.75.
Okay, that's mid.
Yeah, which is just around the Tu Wong Fu Boys Don't Cry space.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Overall, one-line review.
Well acted story that has a
Too
few
long.
flaws, then drags a bit.
Great performances. Good story. Does drag.
Yeah.
Brackets, not Jared Leto.
Yep. Cool.
Okay.
Great.
What is next for us? We have coming up this month. So this is Dallas Buyers Club, our queer adjacent movie. Then also this month we are watching Burlesque as our camp classic.
Yep.
Then at the start of March, you can come to Pride of Our Footscray to watch In and Out
Yes.
with us. Another
Live
potentially
commentary.
controversial representation that we'll do our live commentary for. The link for that is in the episode description. That one's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a funny movie. I'll admit I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
My first watchings are going to be in preparation for the live event. So come along to Pride of Our Footscray for that. You can't get the live commentary on the podcast feed. So that's exclusively live ticketed. We're going to talk about Razzie and Oscar nominations.
Yep.
But also we'll talk about general stuff that's coming up in movies as well as stuff that we have watched. Links for everything are in the episode description. Leave us a rating review if you like us. If you don't, don't. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you, Lee.